Dan Alek Chai, the person who lied to Lio, lied to me, and has since proceeded to lie about both of us. Let me explain a little bit more for those who are confused. Dan Alex Chai is a slideshow commentator and up until recently was a member of my group Temporal Times Commentaries. Fans of Lio Convoy have likely seen his recent video on Dan, and I'm going to be referencing it a couple times in this video. As such, I would recommend you watch it before continuing forward, although it is by no means required. The first of such references, in fact, is going to be right now. Here's Lio explaining how this whole thing started.
There's a YouTuber named Dan Alek Chai, the ultimate storyteller. He's a friend of Cass Warfox. So the night my video dropped, he decided to watch the video, judge its merits, and tell Cass what he thinks he needs to do in order to correct his behavior. Wait, no, that's what a sensible person would do. No, instead, this terminally online turbo dork that's in his 30s decided to hop in my server and call me by my legal name as though that somehow scares me. Let's not play games here. When people do something like this, it's an attempt at a power move. It's more effective when used on cowards like Cass because he's scared of his online shenanigans bleeding into his real life. Can't have your parents knowing you're LARPing as a hard-boiled predator hunter with an abusive stepdad while totally being under witness protection, right? Might shatter the illusion. But with people like me, it's not going to cause any sort of panic, so I just told him if he's going to act hard, he can get into call. And like every other member of the Cuck Mafia, he chose to puss out. And even when confronted about it in Ephraim's server, he just shut down claiming he didn't want to be involved.
On June 18th, 2023, Dan decided that he wanted to talk to Lio in hopes of putting this behind the both of them. This led to a call in Senate that did not go very well on Dan's part. I'm not going to be playing the entire thing because it's a quarter hour in length, but if you want to hear it, it is in Lio's aforementioned video. All you need to know is throughout it, Dan was exposed for consistently lying about his connections with Cass Warfox and the Fox Mafia. Overall, the call did not go well for him, and as such, he did what I think he thought was the logical option, that being contact me for some reason. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like this came out of nowhere, given he did message me just before he decided to do this. But I still do think it's worth noting that the only reason I even became aware of this call occurring was because he informed me of it. Either way, him coming to me to update me wasn't really the issue so much as it was him lying about what happened. For example, he claims Senate dogpiled him when, listening back to the call, they really didn't? Fuck, most of the call was just him and Lio talking. With Peaches and Pizza, although they did later start saying things, barely being involved until the end. I should also note that his reference to the amount of people in Senate for the reason he was dogpiled just doesn't make much sense. For those who don't know, Senate has a voice chat called Gallery, where everybody who isn't an administrator or a moderator is by default muted upon entrance, therefore making dogpiling effectively impossible. I know this took place in Gallery because the first thing that happens when the call starts is Lio saying he's going to give Dan the ability to speak, which he would only need to do if the call was taking place in Gallery.
We can go ahead and get started with another person in here that is not related specifically to pizza or any of that. So let me go ahead and get them their ability to speak. One moment. All right, Dan, you are now able to talk.
Also, for those who are wondering about the keep it between us thing, well, I would normally follow that, but I won't in this case for one specific reason, and you'll see why as the video goes on. Later on, I asked him point blank if he had any association with Cass Warfox's circle. He said no, despite being friends with Cass, which I told him I would still count as active association, but that's not actually the important part. You see, it turns out this was just a lie. Not only was Dan still involved in Cass's circle, but he was posting the conversation he and I were having in Cass's circle while I was having it with him. Lio Convoy proved this to me in a call in Senate the same day I had this conversation with Dan, through just reading out the DMs.
Ephraim, gotta go ahead and break it to you. Your buddy lied to you. But he's still lying to you. Because he's taken the screen caps of your conversation and posted it around Cass's crew. And I'll go ahead and unmute you so you can react to that in real time.
Oh, well, that's what I fucking expected from somebody who, when I asked, when I told him, if you lied to me, I am going to kick you from my server and TTC, his response was, do what you will, and are you threatening me?
Are you threatening me?
Not like, you won't have to because I didn't fucking do that. Instead it was, oh my god, you're threatening me, and if you do, I don't give a shit.
I don't know why, but I really love your voice.
Thank you.
Loud like yours.
Oh, I love his voice.
Well, that's all I've got for today, guys.
Okay, can I have the screen caps of him posting conversations in Cass's server? Do you have those, or?
I don't have the screen caps of him posting it, but I have screen caps of your conversation.
Oh my god, true!
Well,
You do sound a bit
well,
like Sonic
given I
Youth.
never gave those to you, that does seem pretty strange.
Here, let me go ahead and just remove any possible doubt from your mind. One moment. Ahem. You open with, do you not have any association with Cass? I am friends with him, but not actively part of his group. So you do not have active association with him. I do, but not active. If you're friends with him, that's active association. I'm going to ask Lio, but if it turns out you're lying or hiding something, I'm kicking you from my server, kicking you out of TTC, and one of us is going to lead the TSSCC. Do we understand each other? With that in mind, is there anything I should know? Are you threatening me?
Are you threatening me?
Telling you I'm not going to hang out with you if you're lying to me isn't threatening you.
Wait, though.
You know, that sounded way more badass in my head than it did when you read it in that voice. I went on to ban him from both my personal server, that being the F-Ramentator was here, and from Temporal Times commentaries. He was also banned from TSSCC slightly later, although not by Blaze himself, but by one of his admins. And that's where our story would come to an end, if it weren't for what Dan did after he was kicked from these groups, which was go to people and then lie to them. For example, he told Michael Schomer he had no idea why he was being cut off by so many people, even though I told him I would not only kick him out of the 2 places I run, but tell a third person, therefore increasing the likelihood that more people would become aware of such a thing. Of course, despite not knowing why this is happening while talking to Michael, he apparently did know why this was happening when talking to Hypo several hours earlier. Or at least he thought he did because he said it was his association with Kaz Warfox that got him kicked. It actually wasn't, it was him lying about it. That was the issue at hand. He also told Hypo he just wishes somebody would hear his side of the story. Never mind, this whole thing started because he came to me and told me his side of the story. He also started sending Dulsmic content that was critical of Lio Convoy, created by members of the Fox Mafia. You know, the group he's not actively associated with. Which Dull went on to dismiss primarily because of how ridiculous the video and document being sent actually were. The best part being that Dan kept pulling the come to your own conclusions card with Dahl, and then when Dahl kept coming to conclusions that people in the Fox Mafia, again, the group he's not associated with, to be very clear, despite consistently defending for some reason, and despite giving conversations he has with me to them for some reason, were the ones in the wrong, Dan kept arguing. Almost like he didn't want Dahl to just come to his own conclusions, but to come to one very specific conclusion regarding this situation. When Dahl points this out, Dan just starts playing the victim and talking about how ostracized he is because of his association with Cass, which, again, he said he didn't even have. That's why this whole thing started. I know I keep going back to that point, but I really feel like I need to hammer it home. The issue was not that Dan had associations with Kaz or Fox. The issue was that he lied about them. That was the only real issue. And also, nobody thinks you're a monster, you fucking drama queen. He then goes on to tell Dahl that he only lied to Senate out of panic, which doesn't explain why he lied to me, which, again, was the thing that got him banned from the places I run. I wouldn't have even known about the Senate call occurring if he didn't come to me, remember? Final thoughts. Honestly, I think it says something that the only thing Dan has done throughout this situation is play dumb and lie to people. If he truly thought he was in the right and there was no issue with what he was doing, why wouldn't he just tell the truth about it? It's because he knows on some level that what he's done is lie to people, and the reasons he's lying is to cover up the fact he's in a group that he doesn't really think is well liked within the communities he hangs around. And remember, he didn't need to do any of this. I've known he's been associated with the Fox Mafia the entire time, and even though I didn't necessarily like that fact, I did at the very least understand that this was very likely difficult for him, and as such did my best to keep him out of it. It was him who inserted himself into it, though, and furthermore, it was him who consistently lied about the connections that, to be blunt, everybody already knew he had anyway. Good night, and good luck.